Story 1. Snack aisle pastries like Ho-Ho's, Cosmic Brownies, and Little Debbie snacks. Story 2. I thought Lunchables would be a good option for lunch at work because they were quick and easy, and I loved the cheese pizza as a kid. Good God. It was disgusting as an adult. Story 3. This is hard to answer. Many companies have cheapened their recipes since we were kids, so the product no longer tastes as good. Story 4. It was not food, but as a child I loved the taste of medicine for some reason. Now I hate it. Story 5. Subway. I used to love going to Subway with my mother on Saturday afternoons after we both got our hair done. We would sit, chat, and have mother and daughter time. Although I am still partial to their tuna, which, according to Reddit, is 50% mayonnaise, I just cannot go there anymore. The quality has gone down, the amount of food in the sandwiches is minuscule, and there are other sandwich shops nearby with better fare. 2 blocks from my house are Jersey Mike's, Firehouse, Schlotsky's, Jason's Deli, and McAllister's Deli. Panera recently closed. I have more sandwiches than I need right now. Story 6. I used to love SpaghettiOs, but now they taste horrible. Story 7. Liver. I think most people's experience with it is the opposite, but I was obsessed with it when I was younger. Nowadays, I can barely tolerate the smell. Story 8. What haven't I developed a hatred for? I would certainly have a hard time with pizza rolls, Pepsi, or Hot Pockets at this point in my life. However, I have developed a taste for peanut butter and hot cereal, neither of which I could tolerate as a child. I can also appreciate summer fruits such as watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew. Story 9. Hate is a strong word, but Jell-O. If I never had it again, I would be okay with that. It has probably been more than 20 years since I last had it. Story 10. Hamburger Helper was awful for me. I could not even finish it and threw it in the garbage. Story 11. Twinkies were pure bliss in the 1960s and early 1970s. Since then, they have tasted like baked preservatives stuck to the bottom of a plastic shoe. Story 12. My husband and I were talking about how we both loved fried bologna sandwiches as kids. So we bought everything and made them. Oh my goodness, they were terrible. We could not finish even one, and I had bologna burps well into the next day. This was years ago, and I still feel a little queasy remembering it. Story 13. Sunny D was on sale for a great price, and my husband and I thought about how much we loved it as kids. It tastes like chemicals that vaguely resemble orange. Story 14. Cheeseburger Helper, just kidding, it is still fucking amazing. Story 15. I do not like Chef Boyardee and most canned soups, Hot Pockets and the Pillsbury Pizza Minis and croissants, Dunkaroos, Gushers, Fruit by the Foot, Kraft Dinner, soda and fruit juices, Tiger Tail ice cream, pudding cups or the Lunchables cracker and cheese version. I still like Goldfish crackers, regular frozen pizzas, Pillsbury holiday sugar cookies, pizza rolls, chicken fingers, McCain Smiles potatoes, tater tots, and Maynard's candy. So it is not because I grew out of processed or high-sugar foods. Story 16. Fish sticks. I was curious and tried one a few years ago. Appalling. Story 17. Full sugar sodas taste like a cavity once you switch to zero-calorie versions. Story 18. Bell peppers started to taste like bitter dirt in my late teens. Story 19. Pizza. But hear me out. I had an aunt who worked at a pizza place. She lived with us because my parents were broke. She brought home leftover pizza every night, 5 nights a week. I ate pizza for lunch and dinner, and on weekends I ate it cold for breakfast. I'm in my mid-50s now. I can't even think about pizza without gagging. I know it's all mental, but goddamn, even the smell gets to me. Story 20. Not really food. Ranch dressing disgusts me, and I have not tasted it in over 20 years. Story 21. I used to eat peanut butter and grape jelly sandwiches, but as an adult I prefer strawberry or raspberry jam. Story 22. I keep trying anything by Chef Boyardee to see if it will hit the same, but it does not. Story 23. I haven't had it in forever, but I imagine Catalina dressing would be too sickly sweet for me these days. Even worse, when I was a kid at the local Ponderosa salad bar, I would take a big plate of cottage cheese and drown it in Catalina. At the time, I couldn't understand why the adults looked at me as if I had 6 heads when I returned to the table. It makes a lot more sense to me now. Story 24. Fish sticks. Mom would heat them up in the oven and I would chow down on them happily. Not anymore. Story 25. For me, it was sugary cereal. As a kid, I could eat bowls of it every morning, but now it just tastes way too sweet and leaves me feeling awful afterward. Story 26. White milk. I know this sounds silly because I know where milk comes from, but after I had a baby whom I breastfed, the whole concept of animal fluids became too real. I do not care if it is an ingredient in something, but I just cannot stomach a plain glass of milk anymore. I now love oat milk, and I will rarely turn down a glass of chocolate milk since I can pretend it is something different. It is a selective mental thing. Story 27. Yes, this comment section is making me hungry. I still like all this shit. Story 28. Ketchup. I ate it on everything growing up. The smell now makes me gag. Story 29. Sunny Delight. I remembered it as a good orange-like juice similar to Tang. Even as an adult, I do not mind artificial flavors as long as I know to expect them. I had Sunny Delight recently, and it was vile. Story 30. Any Little Debbie or Hostess-style snack cake had waxy chocolate and a flavor that was just pure sugar, but as a kid I thought they were great. Story 31. Heinz tinned ravioli. My granny used to serve it to us, and it was always a favorite of mine. I tried it again at age 25, and it was disgusting. Just tasteless mush. Story 32. Pig's feet tasted different to me after I had my son. Story 33. My mother probably packed me thousands of mandarin orange cups. I tease her about it 15 years later, but I am glad I had a mother who took the time to make me a school lunch most days. I eventually told her that during the last few years of high school I would just throw them away. She was not thrilled. Story 34. As a child, hot Cheetos were like crack. Even now, thinking about their taste makes my mouth water. As an adult, I do not hate them, but they do not taste the same anymore. Story 35. As a kid, I loved cream soda, which is basically pink soda. It was very sweet. Story 36. I used to love the classic chicken rice aironi, but when I tried it as an adult it was terrible and disappointing. Story 37. I used to like Pop-Tarts as a dessert after breakfast. They do not taste good at all anymore. Story 38. Please do not make fun of me. As a kid, when I had Wolf chili out of the can, I thought that was chili. I was amazed later in life when I realized that good chili was not meat paste. Story 39. Those individual ice cream cups with the paper pull-tab lids served at lunch in elementary school. I am convinced the recipe changed because they are not as tasty as they used to be. Story 40. I was obsessed with Peeps when I was younger. Over a year ago I bought some for nostalgia's sake, and I swear they just taste like chemicals now. Such a shame. Story 41. I have an aversion to ketchup. I used it on every food I could as a child. I went to Germany in my mid-20s and am now a mayonnaise advocate. Story 42. I used to eat and love chicken skin, including wing skin, but now it seems gross to me. Story 43. Pretty much all junk food now tastes like chemicals and sadness. Story 44. Pork scratchings. Even the smell of them makes me gag now. Story 45. Brussels sprouts seem to be a different variety now, one that must be easier to grow or ship. The new variety tastes very bitter. Story 46. Candy, chips, processed food including cheap bakery items, soda, junk food, store-bought mayonnaise, juice from concentrate, Chinese American food, frozen or fast food pizza, cereal, and oddly enough jackfruit. Real Chinese food is good. Story 47. We ate watermelon and cantaloupe almost every day growing up. Story 48. I was a very picky eater. I am in my 40s and I gave many foods a chance, such as mayonnaise, olives, salads, and seafood. There are still some things I dislike, like pickles, offal, and zurek, but I have expanded my range and I am happy. Now I need to do the same for my child. Story 49. Hamburger helper and foods containing spam are very salty. Story 50. I used to love liver as a kid. Now I can stomach it, but I don't really like it. Story 51. I'm not sure. My family mostly made pasta, beans, meats, and vegetables. I sometimes had eggs. I hate them, but I can tolerate them on occasion. I just have them prepared differently than I did as a child. Story 52. I avoid most candy and processed snacks. Don't get me wrong. It's not that they're bad. I'll still eat them occasionally, albeit with slight hesitation, but now I'm much more fond of food that is actually nutritious. Story 53. Gushers. As a kid, I loved them. Now, as an adult, they taste artificial and dry. Story 54. Obvious answers include sweets and Lunchables. My personal choice is bananas. Story 55. I absolutely cannot stand the taste or smell of eggs. I don't know how I was able to eat them as a kid. Story 56. Bologna sandwiches suck because I could feed myself for about $5 a week. Laughing my ass off. Story 57. Vienna sausages. My grandfather loved them and would share them with me when I was a toddler. As an adult, I found them too soft. The texture did not appeal to me, and the flavor was unremarkable. Story 58. I feel like they changed the recipe for everything since I was a child. Snack cakes taste cheap and overly sweet. Many potato and corn chips are now loaded with monosodium glutamate. Many drinks I liked as a child now contain both zero-calorie sweeteners and sugar, and they taste awful because of the sweetener. Why put a zero-calorie sweetener and sugar in the same drink? Choose one or the other. Story 59. I liked Hot Pockets as a kid, then went years without eating them. When I tried one as an adult, I thought it tasted gross. Story 60. String cheese. Though I love it when it's deep fried and breaded, I just hate it in its raw form. Story 61. Ketchup is right at the top. I used to love smothering French fries, chicken nuggets, and hot dogs in it. I could have been swayed by a kid in elementary school who drowned everything in ketchup. He would even fill a side of the cafeteria tray and eat it straight. By adulthood, I stopped. I love barbecue sauce and hot sauce, so I guess I'm a hypocrite for liking jazzed-up ketchup. A close second is processed meats, hot dogs, bologna, and Lunchables. The texture and mystery factor are a turnoff now. Story 62. Potted meat, Vienna sausages, cheese singles, any microwave meal with meat. Story 63. There is cheese on everything. I cannot even eat it now without getting violently ill. Story 64. Beef or chicken stew in a can. I still like Campbell's Basics. Anything else tastes like a bowl of salt and something medicinal or metallic. Premium or expensive varieties make no difference. If it comes in a can, I avoid it. Story 65. I watched Wallace and Gromit as a kid, and in one of the shorts Wallace has an automatic jam on toast machine. As an American, I didn't recognize this as a possible breakfast combination. I knew the toast, but I didn't realize the red substance shot into it with a tiny cannon was jam. They don't explicitly call it jam. I also didn't like jam, so I wasn't inclined to think of eating it on short notice. My child mind assumed it was ketchup, just ketchup on toast. I wanted to try it, but at that age I wasn't allowed to use the toaster, so I put ketchup on bread and ate that, proud that I was like Wallace. I ate it all the time for a couple of years afterward. I tried it again when I was 18 for nostalgia's sake, and it was disgusting. I'm 31 now, and I can still feel the revulsion of that day. Story 66. Reese's Cups do not taste the same as they did in 1997. Bologna was amazing in grammar school. Now it's gross to me. Most candies and sodas taste different now. I tried a Capri Sun recently. I never want that again. Story 67. My mother told me I liked lima beans. I hate them and have not had any for decades. I have to give my mother credit for the Jedi mind trick she pulled. She said, "You like these?" And I replied, "Duh, okay." Story 68. I used to buy Campbell's soup, any flavor, especially chicken noodle or chicken and wild rice. I also used a can of cream of mushroom or cream of chicken for an Easy King Ranch chicken recipe. I cannot stomach the stuff now. The last time I made it, we could not finish it. Story 69. I loved those frozen kit cuisine meals with the penguin on them and the Hungry Man frozen dinners. I enjoyed them some nights when I was a kid. They are so bad now. Or maybe they always were and I had bad taste buds back then. Could be both. Story 70. Yoo-hoo chocolate milk. I could drink it by the gallon in my youth. I tried it again a few months ago and it's repulsive. Story 71, honeycomb cereal. Those bastards changed the recipe, and now it tastes like cardboard. Story 72. I loved everything mushy as a child. Now, as an adult, things need to have the appropriate amount of crunch. I still love mashed potatoes, though. Story 73. When I eat chocolate now, it gets stuck in my cavities and it hurts. Story 74. Many good answers here, but I am going with Captain Crunch. That cereal was the ultimate as a kid. Now I cannot eat it. It tears up your mouth if it is too dry and turns to colored mush if you wait 20 seconds too long to eat. Story 75. When I was a kid, I loved poached eggs and hard-boiled eggs. Later, I suddenly did not like them. Now I can only eat fully cooked scrambled eggs and prefer egg beaters the few times I make an omelet. After I had my gallbladder removed, many foods stopped appealing to me. A friend from a family with gallbladder issues said that is common for her family too. Story 76. Kraft American Singles are a brand I avoid. If I eat a sliced cheese like that, it is organic. Most Kraft products are not acceptable to me anymore. Story 77. I was a really picky eater as a child, so it is hard to think of anything. The only thing I remember is bologna. I did not particularly like it, but we were poor and it was tolerable and affordable, so my mother made me eat it. When your stomach is touching your back, you eat the bologna. Now I cannot even stand the smell. Story 78. Really sugary foods. I just cannot eat much anymore. I do not know. It tastes like sticking my tongue into a pile of sugar. I will eat cheesecake every now and then, but I have grown to prefer salty snacks. Story 79. Peanut butter and jelly. I ate it so much as a child that I hate the thought of it as an adult. Story 80. Close to every Hostess or Little Debbie. It is heartbreaking. Story 81. My mom used to make this broccoli casserole that I insisted be on every holiday menu. Sometime after college, I asked for the recipe and realized why no one else liked it. Imagine the most 1950s casserole with 2 different cream of soups, a large amount of mayonnaise, and topped with crushed Cheez-It crackers. I still stand by the Cheez-It topping, but after making the casserole once, I could not look at it again. Story 82. As a child, I adored chocolate-covered cherries. I encountered one as an adult and it made me gag. It had enough sugar to stun a bear. Story 83. Candy corn went from magical candies that I could make into vampire teeth to a nasty waxy autumn rainbow that I can no longer stomach. Story 84. Liver, specifically liver spread. I used to spread it liberally on toast as an afternoon snack. These days I cannot get past the strong metallic, somewhat spoiled taste. Story 85. Ketchup on rice. I was poor and my mother did not know how to cook rice properly and still does not, so I would season it with ketchup because the rice was hard and I hated crunchy food as a toddler. This combination started to taste disgusting once I was 10 and learned to cook rice properly. I have not eaten it in nearly a decade. I do not recommend it. Story 86. I used to eat Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatballs, beefaroni, and ravioli. Now I make my own real versions, which are so much better. Story 87. Bologna. I loved it as a child. Now it is salty, fatty, and mushy in texture, and I dislike it. Story 88. Maraschino cherries. I used to be able to eat a whole jar, but I do not like them anymore. I still like tying the stems in knots with my tongue. Story 89. Three Musketeers bars. I have not outgrown candy at all, but that makes me feel sick. Story 90. Fig Newtons. Unfortunately, my father remembers that I used to love them and still surprises me with them, laughing out loud. Story 91. The pizza sits like an acidic lead ball in my stomach. Story 92. Man, these answers are making me rethink everything. I cannot think of anything I really dislike. Milk, peanut butter and jelly, pizza rolls, hamburger helper, Little Debbie snacks, boxed macaroni and cheese, Sunny Delight, sugary cereals. I love it all. I am lucky I am not 300 pounds. Story 93. Condensed soup. I lived on it as a kid and in early adulthood, mostly because it was cheap, quick, and easy to make. I still love soup as a great meal, but now I have the time and skills to make it from scratch. It is much tastier and far less salty. Story 94. I used to eat a lot of Reese's Cups, but suddenly they disgust me. The change was crazy. Story 95. Almost all candies have changed so drastically since the 1990s that they now give me a stomachache when I get nostalgic for them. Story 96. Most pastry-type items that are not made in a fresh bakery, such as Little Debbie, Entenmann's, and similar products. Story 97. I got a pack of Dunkaroos recently because seeing them made me nostalgic, but they have changed. They definitely do not taste the same. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.